Well, good morning everybody. It's Monday morning. It's been raining on and off since about midnight. I could hear it a bit. Slept pretty well. I've had 2 teas. Breakfast is stewing. I can let that try and encourage that to cool off a little bit and then start eating that, I think, in a minute. So we've got the solar panel out there. It's just starting to, just give a little bit of power. It has dropped down to 1 light, which indicates about 25% power. So quite likely we'll finish that off tonight. I fully charged the Samsung. I put a tiny bit of power in the iPhone, not very much. Mainly because I was watching a film last night, and it's one tip: if you're charging things up, don't charge your phone up or your whatever. So if you're watching something or you are using it, don't charge it at the same time, because I find that's the less, I think anyway, it seems to me to be a less efficient way of getting power in, because then you're just using what you're trying to get in, and it seems to use more power from the power bank doing it that way. I find it's more efficient to not use what you need to charge, get some power into it, than use and charge at the same time. Unless obviously you're at home and you can plug it into the mains, or unless you have ample power, then you're okay. But if you are trying to skimp on every milliamp, then charge after use. So I will have to try to remember this evening when I get into camp, before I start watching anything on the iPhone, just to try and put a bit more power into it, because in the morning I want to get power into the power bank. So, but there's still 50% power in it, so there's plenty of power in the iPhone for the moment. And I've got the other power bank, so I could use that in the morning if necessary. But anyway, I'm going to have breakfast and then slowly start packing up. The forecast, I mean, to be fair, if it stays like it is now, even though it's dank and wet and miserable, would be just about tolerable. But the forecast is a sort of rain pretty much non-stop from now, Monday morning, to the end of the trip, which is basically Thursday morning when we get picked up. But if you watched yesterday's video, yeah, we're lucky that we found this space, because in the end it's a really nice spot. But it's about it's about 500 meters off the road. On the road walk to London stores, where we need to get some provisions later, and we were hoping to have camped a little bit sooner, but we there was nothing. It's just bog, marsh. There was nowhere to camp along those locks. Well, certainly if there's 2 of you. If there's one of you, then there are 2 or 3 places. Certainly 1 or 2. There was one place just by that river that kind of goes into the lock, and that was quite a good spot there, but it was literally on the path. But that, I reckon people had used that, and that was one good spot. So if you were by yourself, or if there was two of you and you had you were a couple and you had a two-man, not a big two-man tent, then you'd probably get a two-man tent in that space too, but not two Trailstars. Anyway, thankfully we found this spot. So last night I put power, so last night I put some power into the DJI. I wasn't going to, but I think I've got plenty to get me back. And if moving forward I only put power into the phones and the torch, then I've probably now got enough in the DJI with this battery, which is now on. I didn't fill that up either last night, but I got it to 75%, and then I've got one other battery, so I've probably got enough battery power for the DJI Action 5 to last to the end now, most likely. So we should have ample power, because after today we've got 3 nights, and I've got one full power bank, and there's still a bit left in this. I'm not quite sure what you can see, but there is a ram on the side of the hill and 2 does just below. Well, there's camp. Chris is still packing up and having his breakfast. He woke up about 9, so I'm going to get the kettle back out again and have another tea in a minute. And I'm going to get back under cover because it's raining out here. Not very nice. Oh. Miserable old weather. Well, we're nearly packed up. Chris is nearly done, so I put everything in. Just got to put my synthetic jacket in the top, put the ground sheet away, solar panel on the outside, and yeah, this kept me dry last night. Ooh. Right, well, we've been into the London stores and picked up some provisions for the next few days, and we checked the firing, and they're firing on tomorrow. Yeah, they're firing tomorrow, which is when we were planning on getting up to Cape Wrath. So we'll get sort of halfway between here and where they start firing today, give or take a bit, and then tomorrow we'll get to the edge of the firing range, and then Wednesday we will get up to Cape Wrath and then have to get back as close to the road as we can. Probably, within a couple of hours we'll be okay. Chris, we're either going to need to go that way or a different way. Yeah, hoping we can get through, but this just one huge swampy bogland
up here, and we're heading for that, not for that hill. We don't need to go up on the hill, but
I think it's only fair but to admit we were aiming for the wrong hill. I think when we got to the point of where we were wanting to go north, and we were going north-ish, we saw a big hill and thought that's the hill that we want to go to. It wasn't. We needed a hill that we can't see to the left of that one.
Now we're making our way. Oh, there's a frog. I've seen a load of frogs. And toads. Saw some toads too. But we're making our way towards that hill, and we're going to walk just to the left of it, and we're crossing here. Most people probably go to Kinlochbervie and then up that way. It's a road and then probably a track. I think some people come this way, but it's probably not the most popular probably not the most popular of routes, but it's a pretty route. We're down by this little lock here, and the bothy is over that way. We're going to head to the bothy and kind of decide what we do there. But you've got a nice waterfall through there, nice mountain range right over there. Oh, there's a teeny weeny little lochen just here, more a big puddle I think, and Sandwood Bay in the distance. You can see the sea. It's quite wavy, and the bothy is probably about 1.5 kilometers in front of us. Well, we're having to cross this rather awkward bouncy bridge. It's the steps on that side was vertical, and then they're just slightly angled this side. It's really not a nice bridge to have to get up. Yes, yeah, it's not. I was thinking, for God's sake, don't go dropping your poles.
No, I thought.
Yeah, yes.
Well, I can now.
Yes. It's not a very pleasant bridge.
Well, it's certainly bumpy.
Yes, it certainly is bouncy.
Oh, yeah. the hardest bit.
Yeah, it was, yes.
Not as angled as this, and there's less to get. I was getting hold of the wire,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
good for my hand, finger. But
After we crossed the bridge, we got as far as the bothy, but there was one other person in there, and I must admit I wasn't really particularly keen on sharing the bothy with someone else. I just like my privacy. Obviously it's fine with Chris, if you're with the person you're with, it's fine, and no disrespect to whoever was in there, but we decided to get, ironically in hindsight, going on was actually the best thing that we could do given the weather, but we did run out of time.
Wild, bleak Britain. So Sandwood Bay is down there. We want to try and get that way so that we can go down that side of the lock. And the beautiful rain is coming back again. It's 7:15, 20 to 7, and that's Sandwood Bay over there. We would have pitched before now if we'd have found somewhere for 2 shelters, but we haven't. There's the intermittent 1 shelter spot, very, very rare. It's really difficult finding somewhere out here. The wind's picked up a little bit, and it's coming more from the north and northeast. As before it was more the east, so that's changed direction, but we're hoping that we will find something at Sandwood Bay. We did stop in the bothy, but there was someone else in there, so you know, maybe with hindsight I should have said be more insistent on staying, but I think I was kind of, well, there's someone here, not so keen. And we still had a couple of hours, because that was 2 hours ago that we left there, and it's taken 2 hours to get this far. It's really quite slow going, but that is Sandwood Bay there. So, and apparently there definitely are places there in the dunes and such like. Chris is a little bit behind, and that weather's coming in again. So yesterday we were walking on the road trying to find somewhere, and just luckily found something up a track. And once again we're nearly fumbling around nearly in the dark at this rate, unless we see something in the next half hour, because the sun sets pretty much now or in the next few minutes, and we'll be needing torches in the next half hour. Like I said, it's so just wild and barren. I know it's not wild like like the outback of Australia or anything like that, and it's just north of England, but when you're trying to find, you know, somewhere to camp, it's not the easiest up here, I have to say. There's So maybe with hindsight I should have just said, oh no. Yeah, we'll stay in the buffet, but I really wasn't very keen. I think Chris probably thought, well, we'll try and see. It's a shame there's no grass here. As I mentioned, the weather was really turning on us now. The winds had picked up, which were not forecast. They were only forecast for the 20s the entire trip. This evening the gusts were up to 30. We basically abandoned the trip in the morning and headed back because the gusts were up into the 50s for the next day. So, you know, it was good that we kept going because we were able to get out easier the next day. We're going to have to cross down there, but there's nothing here at all.